Hello, everyone. Welcome to our October Champions Call. The seasons are turning and changing here in Seattle, Washington. I hope you are doing great wherever you're tuning in from. Let's get into our content today. So first, this is our Champions Call. Hopefully you're joining the right call. This is our Champions AM call. First, with any sort of event with Microsoft, either digital, hybrid, in person, we do have an event code of conduct. I'm not going to dwell over these slides, but essentially be kind, be welcoming, and to everyone in this call. So our agenda today, we have some announcements. I'm going to go over some top M365 updates as usual. Our main topic today is Microsoft List. We have our very good friends, Mark Cashman and Nick Tennant from that product team to come over and talk to us about the product. And then we have your favorite open discussion forum when you can come on and ask us your questions. So first, if you're joining this with this new format, we did switch over officially last month. This is our updated call format where we're going to be live streaming on YouTube, our Microsoft Tech Community YouTube, as well as the Microsoft Tech Community MTC forum. And so you're going to be able to join us at the same time for Tuesday of every month at 8:05 and 5:05 p.m. Pacific time. And so these are the join links per usual. And we try to keep mostly everything the same. It's not going to be really any changes to you, but other than you're just joining us and watching in this different format. The open discussion at the end of the call, you're going to be able to ask your questions by leaving comments on the Tech Community page. We're also going to be posting a link as a banner form so you can join us live and ask us your questions like that as well. Reason for the new format is so that our community calls will be more accessible to worldwide audiences. You can watch our calls from really anywhere in the world and basically be in a more congregated format in the Microsoft Community Learning channel. So next, announcements. We have Mondays at Microsoft with Carawan and Heather. I believe they just had a show yesterday going over top product updates and upcoming events. So if you missed that or you haven't seen what that show is all about yet, feel free to check out aka.ms/Mondays at Microsoft. They essentially go over news congregated all across Microsoft in a nicely condensed format in a bi-weekly fashion. Next, we also have new MGCI community calls. This is hosted by myself, Heather Cook, and we had a very special guest named Perla Ramirez last month. Essentially, if you are an event organizer, you want to be an event organizer, you want to participate in events, MGCI, the Microsoft Global Community Initiative, is your way to basically congregate with like-minded people in that space. MGCI is an open community, just like the Champions Call, but specifically for events. And if you wanted to learn more, you can visit ak.ms/MGCI to join today. We also are on the Microsoft Community Learning channel, and you can also become a member at techcommunity.microsoft.com if you wanted to follow these kind of events. Alrighty, next, the Community Skills Challenge. This is still going until the end of month. I believe it ends on November 1st. So if you haven't yet and you are new to the Microsoft world, or you want to show everyone, hey, you really know your essential Microsoft 365 skills and you want to build your professional skills and have that cool nifty looking badge on LinkedIn. If you wanted to do that, you can join us and get your badge here at ak.ms/community skills. Brady, Jesse, if you are available, would you like to come do the Adoption Now at Microsoft.com update?
I am always available for this group. Hi, everyone. It's so good to see you. Happy October. A lot of updates since the last time we talked here, so I'll quickly go through these. We have a new Microsoft AI Tour page up with resources. If you've seen it, if you've attended, it's awesome. But the AI Tour is touring around 60 different countries around the world, and it's a one-day free chock full of workshops. And so if it's coming to a city near you, check it out. You can register to attend, and there'll be a lot of links there on that page for you to access all the resources. We've added Business Chat, BizChat, to our Copilot scenario library. Multiple updates to Microsoft List page, very timely for our special guests today, as well as we updated some details for SharePoint Premium. And then there's the new Copilot GCC page. So for our government customers in GCC, go check it out. Let us know what you think. Are we missing anything? Do you want to see more of XYZ? You know, we're all open to feedback here. And lastly, we have new sessions out on the Modern Work Customer Hub page. Check those out. There's new Copilot sessions, but there's also some team sessions as well. And then there's more coming. And of course, those sessions are always on demand, available after the webinar. As always, subscribe to our release notes on the website or just read through them. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much, Jesse. I appreciate it. Jesse and our developer, Aaron, worked so hard on the adoption.microsoft.com team, along with everyone from the product team that submits pages. And so adoption.microsoft.com gets updated super frequently, like I believe twice or 3 times a week now. And so it's always really helpful to hear these updates directly from you, Jesse. Thank you. Alrighty, so for top M365 updates, first we have this SMB webinar. If you are a small, medium business, feel free to join us where we will have our friends Gabe Ho and Kayla Patterson from the product marketing team join us and talk about this Forrester Total Economic Impact Study. And this is specifically for SMBs and how it's essentially basically helps dive through on how Copilot and other artificial intelligences can be valuable for SMBs to use. And of course, you can ask Gabe and Kayla your questions as well. They are very, very well versed in the Microsoft Copilot world. Course. All right, so next, Microsoft Teams. This is a super exciting update that I am really happy to share. Share tab in chat. So previously, a lot of times when, my coworker Josh, for example, he will share a deck with me from another conference, I'd have to dive through and perhaps search in messages and think, hey, where's that link that he sent me X months ago, or Jesse sends me some Excel sheet on budget and I'm trying to look for it next budget season. Again, sometimes it's painful. It takes me 10, 20 minutes. But now I feel like time is going to be less wasted because there's going to be a share tab for files and our one-on-one and group chats conversation. So the share tab now, it's going to replace the files tabs. And so you're going to have this consolidated files and links all in one place. And if you wanted to even search within that, you're going to be able to filter by keyword. So super, super exciting. There's not going to be any action to receive this change. And there's really no other changes within channels. So, but again, it's just really exciting to me and I'm sure to all of you to be able to find things much easier. Alrighty, for your planner fans, I know there's quite a bit of planner fans out there. Now there's going to be a labels column now in their basic plans grid view. So this is a highly, highly requested feature in Planner, and you're going to be able to basically track progress and manage your projects easier by being able to add a filter and adding a label to your task and being able to color coordinate or add your own custom labels. And then you're going to be able to granular filter your plan easier that way. So if you wanted to see what this update's all about, make sure to check out that link, ak.ms/planner/labels column. And then last but not least, Viva Amplify. So there are quite a bit of enhancements to Viva Amplify. There's going to be availability of these new analytic capabilities. Some of them that I highlighted here are the reports basically displaying audience count and percentages. Again, just being more granular, giving you more numbers. User signals as well as reactions. We're going to be able to track how many positive reactions, negative reactions, neutral runs. There's going to be more of these updates that you can learn about in that link, ak.ms/viva/amplify analytics updates. Alrighty, well, without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to our very good friend, Mark Hashman. He is joining us super professionally from the studio today. Let's bring Mark on. Hi, Mark.
Hello out there. Yeah, I get the fancy benefits of sitting in what we call the DevRel Studios. That is for developer relations, and they were kind enough as we're doing our internal airlift event to segue and get into a little room here that's got a really nice camera, really nice microphone, and of course, a really beautiful background. So thank you, Tiffany, for having me, and I hope I'm coming through loud and clear.
Yeah, you're sounding great. So Mark today is going to come on with his friend from the Microsoft list space, and he's going to go over the list area and the latest updates as well as a good demo. So you can go ahead and take it away, Mark.
Sounds good. So we've got a part 1 and part 2 for you. I'm going to start out. We're going to get some of the basics and see how we use Microsoft Lists. And we're going to talk about really 2 or 3 key features that have been released recently or soon to be released. You'll see when Nate takes over, he's talking about a feature that isn't yet out but coming soon. But I'll focus on a few things. We have a couple of slides to run through, and then we'll get into demo so you can see the product in action. So first, if you don't know what Microsoft Lists is, we want to be super clear. It is a nice tracking information tracking app inside of Microsoft 365. It's deeply connected with Microsoft Teams. You can access it through the main Lists app. If you've been using SharePoint for a while, it is the same SharePoint Lists lowercase l, now Microsoft Lists uppercase L. It is an app of its own, but it is the same value that you've had for years. But if you're new to Microsoft Lists, it's always also a place for you to go and have a new tool in your toolkit that gives you the ability to track information. This could be a simple list of information, like we track a lot of times events. So you'll see me demo here in a second a list of events that we have coming up and the sessions that we're running and the people that are working on those sessions. But you can also use it to track physical items if you're managing a fleet of trucks, or if you're managing multiple warehouses. A lot of the in and out capabilities, a lot of status updates, a lot of how it adheres to your business process is really that flexibility that's built in. And the smarts comes that anytime you're working within a list, the intention is for you to be able to be aware of where you are, what you're working on, who you're working with, and the different modes that you might be in, ready to go or something still needs attention, and to be able to call different people to attention when things change in your list. That's really that smart component. But it's best to see the product. So I'm going to switch over and show you a little bit of how we use Microsoft Lists so you can get a sense of what it is that Lists can do for you with a couple of examples. So I hope you can see my screen. What you're seeing here is as if you clicked on the Lists app, which is one of the most beautiful icons in all of Microsoft 365.
Hey there,
it's this
Mark.
one here. Yeah.
Mark, hopping in here just to do a quick ask. We lost your screen if you don't mind resharing.
Oh, no problem. I appreciate that for you telling me. Let me see.
Absolutely.
We'll present. We'll start again.
Thank you very much. Continue with the demo.
All right, here it comes. All right. Aaron, is that now visible? Aaron, is that coming through?
We see it loud and clear.
Okay, thank
We're
you.
all good now.
Great.
Thank you very much.
So this is Microsoft Lists, as if you clicked into the Lists app, which is the most beautiful icon I was just speaking about. There it is. And it takes you to what we call Lists Home, which is where you will see all of your lists that you're working with or have been shared with you, or lists that you have just recently created. I'm going to hop into one that's a little bit of a meta point. This is what we use to track all of what you're seeing here. This is called our Community News Bureau list, and it tracks all of our community calls, all of our webinars, our blogs, and it gives us a lot of great details right here in front of us. The one view that I like to pivot to, because we support multiple views on lists, are what are the shows or the different assets that we have that are upcoming, anything on this date or going forward. And the meta point is you can actually see here, we're tracking this call. This is the Microsoft 365 Champions. I'm opening up the default form here so you can see title, description, ready to publish. There are things that we track that are links. There are things that we track that are images. There are things that we track that are people, like you can see here, everybody that you've already met, Tiffany, Nate, Jesse, myself, and now you met Aaron helping us out. But with this particular list, it is where we can track everything. And if you notice, there's the status and there's different color choices that we've made. Ready to publish, something that's planned, something that's been assigned. And if you scroll down, you can get a peek ahead of what this team is working on. But to give you a sense of what another view looks like, we also have this where you can see it in a calendar view, or what I like is a gallery view. So this is a really visual nature in terms of if you have an image on your list item, and I'll just scroll down so you can see in this particular list, we minimize some of the information that you can see. So we hero out the title, the name of the show, or the name of the blog post. I'll just pick one here where we were working with Jeff Teeper and team. But if I click into it, you'll see it's that same full set of information just visualized here in a gallery view. The one that I mentioned, also calendar view, this will give you a sense, just like you would expect from a calendar perspective. What do we have coming up today? We've got 3 things. If I jump into the 24th, we've got another episode where we're working with the AI Tour team. And selfishly, I'll promote here, I have another episode of the Interzone podcast coming up. We track it all here in one list, and it gives our team a great place to track our information, work together, and collaborate. Another example that I want to show you here is what we do when we prepare for an event. This is an upcoming event. This is actually a series of events where we work with the TechCon 365 team across their 3 cities, Dallas, Seattle, and Washington. Here you're seeing all items, but real quickly, the upcoming show that's coming up November 11th is just the tag that we have of sessions that are going to be presented at Dallas. So this view gives me a sense of all the sessions that have been sent to the conference team that are now live on the website. And if I wanted to, I could go into an allocation, I could choose filter by, and I could choose only sessions that are oriented around OneDrive and SharePoint. Same list, minimize my view to only the 3 that I'm looking for, and I can quickly navigate to a specific city, to a specific set or a content area. And here you can see in a list of hundreds of items across 3 cities that we present in, just to the 3 items that I'm really looking for when I focus on Dallas. The last one that I'll show you is one I'll ask you just to visualize a little bit, and then I'm going to show you that last hero feature that's just recently rolled out, and then I'll hand over to Nate. So what you're looking at here is a pretty basic list, but this list actually gets populated based on an external form that we send to some of our community leads, some that are focused on events, some that are focused on generating content like MVPs out there, Microsoft Valued Professionals. And when they submit content that they would like us to promote on our own community channels, they fill out a form that's external, so anybody outside Microsoft can access it. When they submit it, it just shows up as a new item. And I don't think any new items that have come in, but if there had been, I can submit down, or I can narrow down just to those that have been triaged. And another helpful one is items that have been sent through us, but maybe not yet published. Fairly on top of it right now. We've just published a few at the head of this week. But if you can see here, these are all coming in. We've had, since we started this a couple months ago, 107 external items come in, and then we triage them during this list, within this list, assign them who's going to promote them and what channel, and then off they go. And we have that nice flow for partners that we have that agreement where we want to support what they're doing out in the community. So last thing I want to show you, and then we'll bring on Nate, is on this specific list, I actually have created a form that gives me a way to have people bring in a production request. So you can see here is a form that I have that I created that you can go in and you can label. You can add a new logo if you want to dress it up a little bit. You can add something that gives it a little bit more purpose. But it also means you can narrow down what it is that you're asking your audience for. So we track a lot of information like you saw in the broader list. But when we go to collect this information, and I'll copy this down, and you'll see what this form looks like. This just looks like a regular form, but it also minimizes the surface area so that when people are submitting content or ideas or requests like this one into your list, they can very simply go in and just do the date picker, when they want it published by, who or what type of content this is. This is going to be a demo for a community call, and we'll type in the owner as myself just for the sake of time. And that does a global address lookup. And is this going to be a live broadcast? Yes. Is this external or internal? We'll say external, and submit. And that's it. It's just a simple form. I don't want to overexpose my list or my information. Gives them a nice response. You can customize this response, and you can have that be just a simple business process to collect information and move things forward without people seeing everything that you're working on. So with that, let us head back into bringing on Nate to talk a little bit about what we're doing with approvals and Microsoft lists. Nate?
Hello, everyone. My name is Nate Tennant. I'm a senior product manager in what we call our biz apps and automation space. I cover both SharePoint and lists. And today we're going to showcase some new features with our approvals integrations in List. Mark, if you want to jump in, we have a couple slides here. So previously, approvals in terms of List integration were available in 2 different templates. Those were travel requests and content scheduler. These have been out for about a year or so. And so you've probably seen the ability to go in, create one of these lists, and get the special approval status column that's quite handy for both of these functions. What we're talking about today is really bringing this same capability into any of your lists with one simple toggle. So Mark, if we go over to the next slide before we jump into the demo. So what you'll see is in that automate dropdown, you'll get a new option for configure approvals. In there, you'll get some quick info, a very simple toggle, go ahead and enable, and that'll bring in that same exact functionality that you're familiar with from the previous two templates, available in any list. With that, I think we can jump into the demo and see it live in action. So I have my device requests list here that I use, and I track submissions from my team. So I'm going to go into the automate dropdown. I'm going to say configure approvals. Go ahead and click enable. And you'll see just like that, I get a quick refresh. And now I have my approval status column. I'm going to go ahead, just for the sake of time, I'm going to submit this to myself. I'm going to say, please approve. Go ahead and submit. And that'll take just a few seconds to go ahead and connect to Teams and should get the notification. There we go. And with that, I have my request available to go in right within SharePoint. I can see all of the details that were submitted with my request. I can go ahead and action and approve right here. But let's say I'm also someone who spends a lot of time in Teams. I can go over to my Teams, see the notification that Nate sent me an approval request. Same exact information, contains the link to go back to SharePoint if I want. But let's go ahead and submit from here so we never have to leave our SharePoint list. Just go ahead and approve. And we'll see that request come through in the status pill update in just a second. Now, one other cool thing with this feature is, let's say I've already approved my device request here, but I go in and someone tries to say this is now actually, let's say it went on sale to $850. I'm going to try and save that, and I'm going to get a notification that, hey, this request has already been approved. Any changes to the item metadata will actually go ahead and cancel that in-flight request, which I don't want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and go back. You'll see the price reverted, which is a pretty cool feature. And so with that, if I wanted to go back and let's say I no longer needed approvals for some reason, I could just do a simple toggle off and be able to kind of remove those, remove that approval status column from the view. There are a couple other hidden columns here that might help you with the metadata in your process, like who created the approval, who responded in terms of approve, and just general responses, either reject as well. So quite a handy feature to be able to bring these into any of your existing list processes instead of having to use those two templates. And with that, I think we can jump back to the slides. Awesome. And so the exciting part here today is approvals not only available in your lists, but coming later this year, early next year, that same exact functionality that I showed will be available on document libraries, which we know is a very common feature asked to generate some of those simple document approval workflows. With that, I think I can turn it back over to you, Mark.
If you don't mind holding on for a second, we had a couple of questions that came in.
Yeah.
And first, just every time that I've seen you demo that feature, not only is it a really nice integration with Teams and it flows through as you would expect if people have been using the approvals component or that approval service that's now becoming a lot more integrated. I just love all of the visuals that you get, you know what's happening, and that fail safe at the end that you showed is really important, like you would expect. It's been approved, let's not change it. Or if somebody tries to change it, let them know, like, that's not a good idea. So it's really nice to see how this has evolved and that it applies to lists and libraries. I think is going to be really critical. So thank you for showing that. We might get some questions coming in from approvals, but the two that I've seen that have come in, one is just a pretty basic question that I think we have a really good answer for. And it just asks, can you take a Microsoft list or a list offline?
I'll have to double check the rollout status, but there is kind of an offline sync feature. Mark, you may know a little bit more than me here in terms of where that's at, but there is the kind of make this list available offline feature that works with the OneDrive Sync client.
Yeah, and you got it just right, Nate. There's a new capability within lists. There's a couple ways you can actually take lists offline. You can use the progressive web app technology in either Edge or a Google Chrome, where you can make any page, especially if it's more like an application, as an app. So that gives you the ability to have the desktop experience of lists. And then that component that Nate was talking about is there is a sync capability that comes with OneDrive, but it's a separate executable that gets deployed through the OneDrive sync. And it's one of my favorite features and favorite names because the name of the executable is SharePoint.exe, which means not only is it SharePoint, so it's a good trusted value and brand, but it really is connected to SharePoint where the list is stored. And it works alongside OneDrive, how you would expect in terms of the sync capabilities and the people that are working on it, making sure that everything remains in sync. But it does bring you the list that you choose. I believe it's on by default for a lot of the lists that you own, but you can choose to not sync them if you don't wish that to happen. And you can also, from an admin perspective, turn that capability off from a OneDrive and a sync client perspective. You can turn off that local functionality. The other question that came in was one that I might dance around a little bit because I think we have an answer, but Nate, if you know, jump in. There is a default font now, and this is from Perla, who I think we just had on Mondays at Microsoft. So hello, Perla. But the question was, there's a default font that's used when you go to the Lists app, and that's Aptos. And I believe that's true that we've defaulted to that as our common app, common font. But there's also new functionality in SharePoint that we call Brand Center. And one of the new features is the bring your own fonts or the ability to upload custom font packages. Now, the half answer is yes, I believe we support that. How it flows into the Lists app or the List experience. Nate, if you know anything there, if not, we'll track it down and get an answer offline. But I know we at least have the capabilities to do custom fonts. How that applies to the List experience, I'm not 100% sure on.
Yeah,
And
same for me there, Mark.
that's no problem. So one last question to you, Nate, before we turn back to Tiffany. When people see this show up as it's on the roadmap and coming soon, what's a way where people will know that they have this capability? Just if they're looking for it, if they're checking the roadmap, that's great. When they see it, the first thing they'll see based on what you showed is what?
Yeah, any user in targeted release or tenant enrolled in targeted release should have this available today. You'll just go to that automate dropdown that I showed, simple button, and then we're working through the GA rollout of the list functionality as we speak. So should start to see that roll out soon for all of your users. And then, yeah, coming into the new year, you'll see the document libraries piece as well. So yep, very simple, automate dropdown, configure approvals.
Awesome. I'll ask Tiffany. I know there's the one more question that came in, but we want to make sure that there's time for what's next and also Q&A all up at the end. But I'll follow your lead if it's okay to take one more question.
Yeah, sounds good. I think we have plenty of time, so we're good.
Yeah, so I'll summarize the question. This one is around when you are in the new forms experience, you have a little bit of an opportunity to customize it. You can add a lot of your own custom text. So that's more the adding the context of what the form is for and how you want people to use it. There's also some thematic choices that you can make. I believe there are 4 choices that give you a little bit of a different look and feel so that you at least can see that you have control over how your form looks. The question is what comes next? And we don't have anything really significant to announce, except that the team has heard that feedback a lot in terms of how people want to control their forms. There were a number of new form items that have landed on the roadmap around the ability to upload attachments, the ability to use a form to an external user, like you saw me talk about with one of our scenarios, but that's not yet using the new forms experience. So external users, forms attachments, and some of the other ways that you might, once you answer a question, the new question expands based on the logic of the one before, so that cascading notion within a form. Those have all been published. The one area that they're still in the planning phase for is the customization of the look and feel. So they give you the ability to have not only the custom logo at the top, but maybe a more unique thematic or gradient background or a background of your choosing. The feedback has been coming in loud and clear. Certainly that question is top of mind as I've seen it come in through to the team. And so I would say it's on their backlog. They're looking at how they can make forums a great experience for you to create them, obviously to have people be able to consume them, and have it be a really nice addition to how you do your business flow, especially if it's internal or external. So great question, great top of mind in terms of there are other folks thinking just like you, and that ask is definitely landing with the team. Tiffany, I think we'll turn back to you and we'll look to see the questions that are on the comments within the tech community page, and we'll answer them there right now or offline as we find the answers. So I think, Aaron, if we can bring
All
the
right.
next.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you so much, Nate. Alrighty, so we can bring back our content. Okay. All right. So next for our upcoming community events, we have quite a bit going on. This is like the end of the year rush for community events, but we do have a D365 user group in Stockholm, Sweden on October 23rd, which is tomorrow. Of course, we have some upcoming community days in Montreal, as well as Mexico City on October 26th in Montreal, Canada, October 31st. It's going to be a spooky Halloween down in Mexico City because it is on Halloween in Mexico City. And I do know my very good friend, Dave Levier, that holds that conference there. And of course, we have the AI Community Conference in Houston, Texas. And then Mark, who you saw earlier, and of course, my colleague, Josh Leparati, they're both going to be at the TechCon 365 Dallas next month, November 11th to 15th. Of course, we can't forget about Microsoft Ignite. That's going to be in Chicago, both in person and of course online as well in a hybrid format. And that's going to be next month, November 18th to 22nd. Our very own Jesse Huang's going to be there, as well as Caruana and Adam Harmon, and of course all these other folks from the Microsoft team is going to be coming on to talk about the latest releases at Microsoft Ignite. Preview for next month's Champions Community Call. We're going to be doing a recap of Microsoft Ignite and all the top announcements there. And last but not least, December 2nd to 5th, we have the European SharePoint Conference in Stockholm, Sweden. And that's going to be a great conference with Jeff Teeper and Mark, whom we saw earlier, Caruana, Heather, and they're going to be doing a great conference there in Sweden. So make sure if you're going to be in the European region, perhaps for the holidays, perhaps you're from there, definitely check out that European SharePoint Conference there. Alrighty. Next, we have our open discussion. I know some of you hopefully were waiting, but to come and ask us live your questions. So if you're ready and you want to ask us your questions live, you have some questions for the list team, for Mark, for Nate, or for us here in the Champions team, then feel free to ask. We also, if you wanted to ask this directly in the community, in the Microsoft Tech community, you can also ask there as well. Cool. First, we have a question from Lucia. Can you have guest users become approvers in these lists?
Yeah, that's a great question. Guest users are not supported from the SharePoint side today. We actually use the Teams Approvals app kind of under the covers, which is also in Power Platform for folks that are kind of deep on that side of the house. So it does not allow guest users today. But that is a good question. I think something we'll have to consider for a later release.
Yeah, and I think if somebody was in the full global address list, like if you have a partner that you work with on a recurring basis, if they're in your global address list, then yes. But to Nate's point, if you invite them just with a simple email or ad hoc, then they wouldn't be able to be associated.
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
There were a bunch of good questions.
We have another question.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool. So from Colin, we have Does the new list approval support serial and parallel approvals?
Not yet serial. If you use the Teams version for anything, you'll see they have kind of the sequential. You can reorder the stages of the approvals. We do support kind of a multiple people. Let's say I put Nate, Mark, Tiffany as approvers. I get the option to decide, do I need all three to complete the approval for it to be deemed approved? Or can just one of the three of us kind of complete the approval action? So that's kind of where we're at today. We get the ask a lot about kind of similar staged approvals between different people and then kind of running in parallel. So yeah, just multiple people today.
Nate, I saw one that was a question around, will it be coming to the GCC or the Government Community Cloud? Not so much a when, but an if. And I think it's, always top of mind, as
Yep.
we roll out features, is it going to be included? And if you know when, that's great too.
Yeah, we'll include this in our roadmap and message center. GCC is supported from the Teams approval side, so we are coming there. Some of the higher GCC environments are not quite supported. I know they're on the roadmap, but those will be included in kind of message center as well. So kind of worldwide plus GCC right now.
Excellent. The next one that I saw was just a general question around working with larger lists and maybe some best practices or tips on how to work with thousands or tens of thousands of records, whether that's a real record like a record center that could be associated to a document or just a list item. The nice thing is behind the scenes, the support for a list, which also applies to a library, is you can have up to 30 million items. But to the reality of the question, when you're really reconciling over that, the more that you put in how you translate how you want to view your lists, it's really important to create views that are manageable. So if you have something that returns lists of a size when you see it filtered down to 1,000, 150, or 10, like you saw me go from about 300 items down to 3, it's those views that can be really important. There's a notion of what we do automatically in the service to index the lists so that they're fast and performant based on the choices that you make, and to have some of those indices sort of created for you. But when it comes to actually managing, let's say 10,000 records, the list can support it. There will be the 10,000 records there if they come in very quickly, if you're doing a migration, or if over time, let's say within a 3-year period, you now have 10,000 items in a list. How you triage and manage them becomes important. If things are pending status, if things are already completed, if they're assigned or out to be completed, in review, those types of things. Whether you're using the new review and approval, that can obviously update some of those automatically for you. Or as you change things and manage those records, it's really important to create multiple views so that you can navigate really quickly and narrow down what it is that you're seeing. The list and the storage component will handle what it is you can throw at it, but the visual component and how you actually can interact with your list to find what you're needing or to see what you need to see from a status perspective, I believe there's a lot in terms of how you filter or leverage the view capability within lists. All right, we got a lot of questions around slides. Jesse, do we want to jump in and just remind everybody or Tiffany how everybody will be able to get slides, and then we'll keep looking for next question.
We do have additional questions. So I'm going to ask the question from Jennifer. Can the approval feature be automated based off of conditions? For example, if the type of event is webinar, always send it to Jane Smith to approve.
Yeah, great question. Not yet. You can use our rules capability to key off that approval status or any of the underlying approvals columns. But today in this first version, it is manual approvals, but definitely something we want to add either to automatically send the request or when some metadata is met in the list to go ahead and automatically send that. So not yet, but absolutely coming in the future.
There's another one that will definitely
We have a
carry
question
over.
from Jonas. Will we see permissions on?
Sorry, Tiffany.
Oh, okay, no worries. Oh, will we see permissions on list items similar to DocLib?
Yeah, they might be asking about granular permissions at the list item or the list item level. And that's something that isn't possible today. And it's something that actually gets fairly tricky from a SharePoint access and control perspective, adjusting permissions beyond the site level. Certainly at the document library level, it's kind of an entity of its own. We definitely promote that if you have a site where you might have a document library or multiple document libraries, a list or multiple lists within that same site container, that you do focus on trying to get the permissions so that whatever is in that site has the same level of permissions and not to change anything that's below the site level. So we've promoted for a while now not using subsites. We want you to use a lot of lists and libraries, but it might be beneficial to consider having multiple sites, even if it contains fewer document libraries and fewer lists, so that you can manage those permissions, especially if you're leveraging Microsoft 365 groups. That's really where you want to manage the membership, members, owners. You can still have, communication sites that have only viewers or people that can't make any changes. But once you get down to the list level and you're talking about the separate list items, we don't support the ability to change those permissions, and it is where it gets a little bit tricky from both the how we support it and the manageability of it. I just wanted to throw in one other question that I'm not sure if we have a great answer, but I think we'll definitely take it as great feedback. There's a feature that was released between the Microsoft Stream team and the Microsoft List team, and we call it playlists. And it's a really nice feature where you can essentially create a playlist of videos. I actually did this to one of the events that Tiffany mentioned that's coming up, the ESPC event, European SharePoint Conference. And last year we had all of the keynotes that were recorded in some of our broader breakout sessions, and we put them internally so that people that weren't able to go could then review the sessions and get the knowledge. And we put together a simple playlist as expected. These are just videos in SharePoint. We put them into a playlist so you could have an order and you could arrange them, title, description, and a click to play directly from the list. It's a really nice functionality. And the question is, can you do more or have more that comes from the playlist? They were asking about, can you see the metrics or how many people have been viewing it? And the half answer is yes, you can always see how many people have interacted with a file. But the 50% answer is no, because we don't highlight that number right within the playlist. So to discover the number, you have to go to the asset itself, the video file in SharePoint, and there will be what we call file analytics. It's a little rough. It's not what you're wanting, but it is available to you to get the information. The playlist, as it is now, is a really simple, nice interface for people to interact and navigate through multiple video files, similar to like you see on a YouTube playlist. So it's pretty simple and easy for you to send a link, see the playlist, play the videos. But to get to the analytics for that specific feature ask, it's a little bit deeper under the covers for the individual video file. That being said, the other unaccounted for percentage, which I didn't leave myself, 10 or 20%, is to certainly I'll take that back to the list team as feedback as they think about what's the next iteration of playlists, of which I know they've been focused on having it be mobile ready and also the ability to have the ordering be something you have a little bit easier control over. I saw one question that's a little bit off topic, but I'll address it. It's asking about, is there a SharePoint Premium trial? And the answer is yes. And I'll give a plug, I think, to Jesse, who may know a little bit more than me on how to help you navigate there. But on the adoption.microsoft.com site, there is a specific page or a destination to learn more about SharePoint Premium. And I believe heroed on that page is how you can start a trial. There's also a dedicated Learn topic to help you get started, not only the how to get a trial going for SharePoint Premium, but then the how you actually might roll that out to do a proper trial and do a good pilot within your company. So, Jesse, anything more to add as far as more that you know about that page or behind it, the information?
Jesse had a drop, so
Oh,
unfortunately she
great.
won't be
I
have anything to
I
add.
wasn't sure.
Perhaps
Well,
Erin might know. She produces the pages.
yeah, I'll go to adoption.microsoft.com while Erin considers it, and I'll go to that page. Let's see.
Hey, sorry, team. We're working on some back end development. Mark, can you repeat the question there?
Yeah, we were just highlighting the SharePoint Premium page on adoption.microsoft.com.
Yes.
And on the top of that page, if I'm remembering correctly, is kind of to the answer to the question of how do I find SharePoint Premium trial? And I believe it's directly on that page. And I'm
I
just looking.
believe that it. Yeah, let's validate together.
Yeah.
So if you go to adoption.microsoft.com
Yep.
/SharePoint-Premium, you can also just find it in the products dropdown.
Yep.
SharePoint Premium. You will see a try now box right below the main section. It's going to be first block, far left.
Yeah.
Says try now. You can sign up for the pay as you go. You can start exploring it now through June 2025.
Do you mind just sharing out my screen real quickly here again?
Absolutely.
If I need to reshare, I will point out where that is. I think I'll share out again just so I share out the right thing. I'll
Sounds
stop
good.
and then start presenting. Share screen coming up here shortly.
Excellent.
And
I'll get the Jeopardy music ready to play.
Yeah. So you had the URL perfect. That was what helped me get there. So the question was, can I start a trial, or how can I find where to start a trial for SharePoint Premium? So this is on adoption.microsoft.com. And then you don't have to have the EN/US, but just type in SharePoint-Premium, and it'll take you to this page. And then here is the try now. And if you click into it, this is where I was mentioning that there is the learn content. The one tricky thing, the reason why I wanted to demo a little bit, is the original name of SharePoint Premium was Microsoft Syntex. And by default, it is actually not a mistake at this point to have that still listed, because there are some folks that have purchased this when it was originally named Microsoft Syntex. Bonus points if you can put in comments what the project name was, the original code name. I'll reveal that in a couple of minutes. But you'll see Microsoft Syntex. That's still the umbrella term for what is now called SharePoint Premium. And under it, you can see the different getting started, how to set up the pay-as-you-go, what to expect when you have this in a trial phase versus what you expect when you're actually using it in production. And there's also a lot of information that gives you a little bit more insight into what is SharePoint Premium. So if you start at the adoption site, you'll be able to learn a lot about it at the higher level, and then dive into the Microsoft Learn content that will really help you actually get started with a trial so you can pilot SharePoint Premium. All right, I'm just going to check to see if anybody posted, any brave souls out there who know what SharePoint Premium, before it was called Microsoft Syntex and before it was called publicly a project code name. Does anybody know the project code name? Nate, do you know it?
I do.
All right. Maybe you'll be our reveal. Let's see if anybody posted it in comments. Do a quick page refresh. I don't see it, but we have somebody on from Tucson. Hal, my hometown, 0 to 18. I love the saguaros, especially when it rains. They fill up and grow. All right, I don't see it posted. So Nate, will you be the reveal? What is now called SharePoint Premium, previously known as Microsoft Syntex, was originally released to the public named
Cortex.
Project Cortex. Excellent. And I definitely used one of my coins to say, I think we should keep that brand name, but I didn't win that battle. I was far down the rungs of deciding, but I got to watch that in action. So thanks for that question. Is there anybody that was brave enough to come and join us on camera? If not, we'll give a plug for what you see here on the bottom of your screen. If you have a question where you want to ask, raise your hand by coming online, by going to the AKA link that you see here, M365 champion call/ask, and that'll get you into the green room, and then we'll get you up on here on screen so we can hear your question. All right, we'll give a quick review to see if any other questions have come in that we can address here. I think we covered everything that I can see. Anything that we've missed, Aaron or Tiffany, that you saw?
No, I think we're good. I mean, if we don't have any other questions, then we can go ahead and bring up that last page. Awesome. Great. Well, first, before I close it out, thank you so much, Mark. Thank you so much, Nate, for coming on, talking to us about LIS and for your awesome demo and answering our champions loads of questions, because as you can tell, they're very enthusiastic about LIS. It was highly asked for. And so I finally brought it to them. And so thank you so much for willing to answer my calls for coming in on and bringing on LIS.
Very welcome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Nate. All righty. So what's next for the Champions Call? Next month, we have on November 26th, just previewed earlier, we're going to have the Microsoft Ignite recap. And so make sure you join me, and as well as Josh Leparati on my team's going to come on to talk to you both about that. And of course, feel free to share your feedback. I know we have this new format, we have different changes. And so just let us know, how you like it, how you don't like it. We want to hear it all. And of course, join us at the Driving Adoption community at aka.ms/driving-adoption. This is where you've all hung out before. And of course, we're going to keep it the same. We're also posting our new calls, of course, on there as well. And you can also ask your questions to each other or ourselves here. Lastly, invite colleagues to become a champion. We have the aka.ms/m365 champions link. And through there, once you become a champion, you'll receive our monthly newsletters, as well as the exclusive resource of being able to download our PowerPoint slides here from the product team, of course, as well. And of course, I'll review our recordings through there as well. So that is our call for October. Thank you so much to Mark, Nate, Aaron, Jesse, of course, for joining us. Hope you had a wonderful time listening to this call today. And thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.